Haidong. In this video, we're going to block the diagonal cut. So if you see a diagonal cut coming towards you, so the diagonal cut honestly is one of the most common strikes, obviously outside of Kendo because they don't do it, but it is a very common strike in both HEMA and in Gumdo. Because it is a powerful strike, it is a wider range strike, because if I do a center cut, for example, and he sidesteps just a little bit out of the way, right? Versus if I do a big diagonal cut, even if he sidesteps a little bit, I can still get something, right? So obviously with that caveat, be kind to your partner, right? Don't like follow them with a giant baseball bat swing. But the diagonal cut is one of the most common, and we're gonna have 3 ways of deflecting it. So one of them is, so just like with our center cuts, right? We're gonna have our passive block, and then we're gonna have our more active blocks. So the very first one is gonna be, if you imagine a diagonal cut coming towards me, you're just gonna put your sword out there so it doesn't kill you, right? Notice that my tip is still about on my center line. You'll see, at least in the Federation, that they're gonna block out this way. I'm gonna keep it here. So if I block, it's coming back this way. The reason for that, right? If you give me that down cut, I'm like really dedicating here, it's very easy for him to kind of like just go around and strike, or go around and strike. This opens you up quite a lot. Versus if you're here, and you give me that cut, if you're here and try to like either go around or something like that, I can quickly shift into another strike. So the very first drill with your partner, again, just like we talked in the last video, actually aim for the collarbone. Now if he doesn't block, don't be like, ha ha, and fall through. Obviously, stop beforehand, right? Starting off with that one, so if you give me a diagonal cut, all you're gonna do, kind of just meet. Notice you can either choose to do the strong of your sword and kind of meet higher, or you can go a little bit lower with the anticipation of aiming the tip there. Knowing that if you do meet in the middle, that's gonna open up a whole other range of things that can happen. So if you're kind of worried for your life, maybe a little bit higher, just kind of give yourself the strong of your sword, knowing that he could do more against you, but for now, it's fine. And do the same. Same. If I go against you, if I give you a gun cut, if you want, you can fall through. There's going to be things we're going to do later if you don't. Here. So that is our passive block. It's kind of like the panic, right? You see something coming, you're like, oh, I'm not ready for it. It's a very quick block. It's going to probably protect you, just not for the second move. So we just did the passive block. Let's do the active block. Now you're going to find that there's a very similar way to block as we did our center cuts. We're going to be using the back or the ridge of the sword, right? The very back of the sword is probably not safe for your sword because that's actually the softest part of the metal, if you were sparring with metal swords. However, using the very corner of the back of your sword will also be very effective. So if we're here, for this one, I recommend keep your sword on the same side as the way you're seeing the sword come in. So for example, if he starts coming from his left side, I'm gonna have my sword on my right side. So if he gives me that happy little cut, right up, if I want to, I can just like, just because it's really easy to be in that place right now. I'm just gonna step back this way. So if he gives me that cut on the other side, pop, pop, stepping back, pop, pop, stepping back, pop, pop, and one more, and then pop. Likewise, if I go against you, so if I start with this side, from here, pop, 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 and pop. Good. Now, you might be wondering what happens if I'm on the same side, right? So if he's aiming this way, and I'm on this side, what you can do, you can actually aim for the underside of the arm, or you can actually just do a rising block this way. It's not going to be as effective, but if you see that coming in here, right? Now, if I were you, I'd actually come back in, grab the sword, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, so if you're on the opposite side, you see come in, just cover. Just like with the excellent 11 blocks we did. This block is not intended to go same side, so just cover just in case. But yeah, so practice that, making sure you aim Aim middle versus middle for this, so you're not too close. You're not going to be murdered to death. All right. And the third way is one of my favorite ways of doing it because it's just, you get to make heavy eye contact with your opponent as they lose control of the sword, right? This is one of the parries we're going to be doing. So with the previous two, you could follow through with the cut. But if you actually spar anyone, that's not always the case, right? So if we both came in with diagonal cuts, for example, and we're here, I'm not gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna follow through, because then he's gonna follow through, right? Most likely, if we're both too close, we're just gonna be here, right? So what we're gonna do here, there's gonna be a future video about what's called winding, which is because this is so common, meeting in the middle here, there's a lot of different ways you can not die and try to murder your opponent. But for now, we're going to do what I'm going to call it's in a J shape, so I'm going to call it the J parry, right? So if we're here, going to hook the tip around and across. It's going to work the same way the other side. Here, really engage your left hand to hook and across. Again, it may not look super fancy in the air. Let's actually show a few applications, right? So if you give me a down cut and I meet you in the middle, I'm going to try to get my tip underneath your sword here, right? And if I want to, I can come in this way, or I can just be nice and just let him have a second shot, right? Doing the same thing other side. We're here, noticing my left hand doing quite a lot. It's going underneath and then doing the same thing going down the line. So this is where we're going to be meeting in the middle as opposed to following through. Yeah, so if you give me that cut, we're here, parry. Here, parry. Here, parry. That worked. And then here, parry. Now, again, if you want to be mean, you can have a quick snap strike just to be that guy. But if I do the same thing against you, right? So here, he's going to parry me across. Here, parry me across. Here, parry. And here, parry. And if you're up against someone who is not expecting this, because we spar often enough that we kind of know that's going to happen, if you're up against a newbie, more often than not, they're going to lose their sword, and it's mildly amusing, but don't get too much amusement because that's borderline sociopathic. But, so I guess with this, so keep training with it, really get used to passive first, because I want you to have that knee-jerk reaction of like, oh no, I wasn't prepared, right? So I'd rather you have that reaction as opposed to, just accept the cut coming towards your collarbone. So first get used to having this closer block as opposed to a farther reaching block, and then start working on same side walking this way. And then if you're ever in that middle position, that nice, happy J parry. But I guess with that, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training. Haidong!